Hello, welcome to The Wandering Drew. I am Drew. On today's episode, I'm going to continue demonstrating the steps that goes into planning a backpacking trip by using one of my own trips as an example. And I'll show you some of the websites and the steps I took in order to go on this hike. So what I thought happened was in September of 2018, while listening to a hiking podcast, I believed that Jennifer Farr Davis, who was being interviewed, and if you don't recognize who Jennifer Farr Davis is, that's okay. She's not exactly a well-known common household word. However, in hiking circles, she's very well known. She's a world-class athlete. She has over 14,000 miles hiked on trails, including the AT, the Pacific Coast Trail, the Colorado Trail, the Long Trail, which is in Vermont, as well as some international trails. And she's also well known for doing the fastest known time, or FKT, of any person at that time on the Appalachian Trail. So needless to say, she has some serious hiking credentials. In addition, she also wrote a couple of books about hiking and leadership and endurance. And she also runs a hiking company. So she's obviously an underachiever and doesn't have enough to do. I went back to listen to her comments to get them quoted correctly for this episode, that she never mentions the Foothills Trail. She mentions the Pinhoti Trail. The Pinhoti Trail is a 331-mile trail in Alabama and Georgia. And Miss Davis mentions the Pinhoti Trail as being a good trail to practice and get in shape for the Appalachian Trail. I thought, in my memory, she had discussed the Foothills Trail. More than likely, what I did was I researched the Pinhoti Trail, and in looking at nearby hikes, I probably discovered the Foothills Trail. But I'm glad I did. It is an excellent trail. I highly recommend it. It is beautifully kept and maintained. In this video, I will illustrate and show you some of the websites and the books that I purchased and used in order to do my research for this trail. I will also leave links below in the description of this episode, so you'll be able to find all the research that I did, and hopefully you'll go out on this trail shortly. The Foothills Trail is a 76.2 mile trail that's located primarily in South Carolina. It begins and ends, and it goes east and west. It begins and ends in two state parks, Table Rock State Park and Oconee State Park, that are both located in South Carolina. And you have a choice of whether going east to west or west to east. It does, however, travel into North Carolina on two occasions as you follow the trail. So originally, I did my research. By doing a web search, I found the trail. Then I found a site called the Foothills Trail Conservancy, which is the governing body, or the managing body, if you want to think of it, of the trail. So they take care of maintaining the trail. They have, obviously, maintenance crews that go out, as well, volunteers. They have a whole board of officers. They obviously promote the trail, but they're responsible for its administration of its day-to-day activities. The Foothills Trail has a very strong group of people that manage it and care for it. It is an excellent trail, and they have a large tie-in with the community, which was really nice to see. As I did my research on the trail, I noticed that there were a lot of eagle projects, a lot of bridges, a lot of waterfalls. It was beautiful stuff to see here. It's a gorgeous area. In doing my research on the FTC site, or the Conservancy site, I was able to find maps. You're able to find publications, so books and maps as well. I also purchased another guidebook outside of the Conservancy, and I was able to take all that, and then even on their website they have a list of approved shuttle drivers, and I reached out to one of those shuttle drivers who turned out to be a great godsend to me, both during my hike and after, and I still keep in touch with him. So the shuttle driver that I reached out to was very well versed with obviously the Foothills Trails, because he's an officer on the FTC, but he's also a hiker, and he hikes routinely all throughout that area, and he also helps with the maintenance crews. So he really knows the trail very, very well. And after speaking with him and after doing my research, a couple of emails went up and back, and then I actually phoned him. I like talking to people still. I know it's not as popular as it once was, but a little old school. So I was able to decide on which direction to go. And this also illustrates the importance of being flexible. Originally, I was going to go from east to west, but after speaking with him and doing a lot of research, I decided to go west to east. I figured it would be an easier elevation change. You start out low and you work high, rather than getting a tough climb right away. And that's really just a preference. I don't think one is any better than the other. I don't think it matters. It's just, like I always say, there's a reason why they make vanilla and chocolate. Not everybody likes the same thing. So after I did my initial web research, I actually then looked at several videos that I located on YouTube and other sites that illustrate or demonstrate what other people did on their hike. So I could see the type of terrain, I could see how long it took them. I was able to see some of the areas, what the terrain looks like, you know, the trail itself. And that gave me some good information. I also was able to read some trail journals on other sites where people documented their travel through the Foothills Trail. And all of that led me very confident that this is a well-maintained and well-marked trail. And I actually did go out on that trail. After speaking with the shuttle driver and doing all my research, I picked a date. I gotta admit that I was totally enamored by this trail. When I did the research, I was basically like, I have to do this trail. And it was all consuming. I didn't think really of anything. I bought some new gear. I tried to lighten up a little bit, not enough, but I did lighten up a little bit and I was all ready to go. And this was my first solo backpacking trip and I planned for 5 days. And next week, I'm gonna show you the footage that I put together from that hike. I unfortunately did not get to finish that hike. I only did 3 days out of the 5 planned days before I had a foot injury. But I'm going back already. I just made my plans this week, spoke with the same shuttle driver. I've already booked a hotel room. I have a rent-a-car so I don't have to put mileage on my own car. And that's the benefit of using your resources, because through the FTC, I was able to get all the phone numbers, as you'll see in some of the inserts I'm putting in here, the websites, you can see all the phone numbers. So I called both parks to get information on leaving my car there. Any permits, any restrictions. You want to find out, are there any limitations to using fire in the area? Are there any limitations to camping? Are there any places I can't camp? Which there are on this trail. There's some land that is still owned by Duke Power Company, which is a benefactor of the trail. The land, a lot of the land belongs to them, but they allow it to be used by the Foothills Trail, and just on their land there is no camping. So that's important to know, because I don't want to obviously go there and break the rules or possibly ruin the relationship that hikers have with this company who is being supportive of hiking. Additionally, you want to find out, do I need bear canisters? Is that a problem? You know, do I need to know about? Then you start watching the weather. I was able to watch the weather several weeks out. I was getting concerned about a week out because a large storm came into the area and I was worried about snow. I decided to go in February of 2019 because that's the least used time of the trail and it's also colder weather. And I have never been hiking in colder weather on a backpacking trip for several days. Most of my trips have all been in May, June, July, or August. So I really wanted to branch out and do colder weather. I also don't have to worry about certain issues then. I don't have to worry about, obviously, mosquitoes. I didn't have to worry about bears because it was February. They're not a problem. Snakes shouldn't be a problem. Not that I was really overly concerned with them, but it did make it less of a burden to not have to worry about really mosquitoes. Ticks are always a problem. But that's one of the decisions. I wanted to have a hiking experience solo, and I really didn't want that to be interrupted with large crowds, which I think, or I thought from reading it, that this trail draws to it. And they do have a lot of hiking and users on the weekend. During the week, obviously not so much. So that was basically my experience in planning after I contacted all the people, the ranger stations and the park station. I felt very comfortable about doing it. My shuttle driver was excellent. We had good communication. We met on time. And he took me for a tour of the park and showed me several different areas en route to the trailhead. And because he does the maintenance and he is on the board, he has a different insight to the trail than just an ordinary person would be. And I was pretty fascinated that he explained to me that in 1973, that the power company, Duke Power, made an agreement with the state to form a dam, which then resulted in the lake, which is Lake Jocassee, which is a beautiful lake, but it's a man-made lake to provide water for the hydroelectric plant. And it wasn't until 1973 that took place. So in 1972, this area was highlighted when it was used as a shooting location for a Deliverance film starring Burt Reynolds. And if you've ever seen that film, you know there's footage there you can never forget. It is very, for the time, it was very shocking. But even nowadays, to watch some of those scenes still sticks with you. As well as I found out it was also used in 2012 for a location for filming the Hunger Games. I looked up a little bit further and found out Jocassee is a Cherokee name, and that was supposedly the name, according to legend, of one of the chief's daughters who fell in love with a warrior from another tribe who was then killed in battle by her brothers. And she mourned for him, and this is the area that supposedly she walked out onto water and was able to meet his spirit. So Jocassee is a Cherokee name that means place of the lost one. So all in all, my impressions of the Foothills Trail are excellent. I would strongly suggest that you do some research. If you're able to look into this trail, travel to it. I think it's worth it for a through hike. Even if you do sections or a day hike, I think it's well worth it. I found this trail to be well marked. There is probably no map needed. If you really wanted to, you can just hike following the trail, the blazes that are well positioned on the trees, and the signage, which is excellent. They've been in the process of replacing the signs, so there's new ones coming all the time, but it's an excellent trail. I have several weeks until I go back, and I can't wait to go back there. While I was hiking this trail and then doing research, like I said, there's a strong community input into this trail. They have a pipeline with both Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts who seem to do a lot of projects on the trail for their Eagle or Gold project, which is required to attain the highest rank in scouting. And it was nice to see there were several campsites that had been basically cleaned up or renovated by Scouts. There are also several cisterns in certain areas that were placed by Boy Scouts as an Eagle project, but it makes it easier for hikers if you need to get water. A couple of them are probably in need of some care. One or two of them I found were a little stagnant. I thought they weren't moving fast enough, and they had filled up with silt. So I did not use them. However, it's nice to know that they're there. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day. Appreciate you watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you have, please leave a comment below, something you'd like me to do, or your comments on the Foothills Trail if you've done this trail. If you feel so inclined, please subscribe. Thank you once again. Till we meet again.